الحمد لله الحمد لله الذي هدى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على سيد الرسل وخاتم الأنبياء وعلى آله وأصحابه الذين اجتبى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها صدق الله العظيم. Honorable elders, respected brothers, sisters, dear children in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, who is our creator, our protector, and our sustainer. And we send salutations and peace and blessings upon our beloved Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this dunya has placed many signs for us to reflect, to ponder, to think over, and to come to the conclusion that the ultimate creator is none other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of those great signs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created for us in this dunya is the shams, is the sun. And the sun normally in this time of the year, in this season, the summer, is extremely bright and is very glowing and hot and gives out the warmth. So this is a great creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the ayahs that I just recited at the beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath on this creation, the sun. وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath on the shams and its glow. Allah, and this is a time of everything in coming out in already flourished and benefiting others. And normally when the sun is out, the spirits are high, people like to go out, and a lot of other benefits that we can go on for hours and explain that this is a great creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the shams and the sun. وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا. So in this time when we have this season of summer, again, this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a blessing. But how can we make this summer a productive time for us and our families? So today I'd like to share a few tips and some advice that if we adhere to, inshallah, we can make this time a time of a good means for us to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also a good means of for our children to be productive and to do something useful during the holidays that they're coming up with. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the first is in regards to the holidays, obviously, that our children have now, their schools are finished and they've broken up for the summer holidays. Now, what to do in that summer holidays? Time is a very important asset, is a very important gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just the way I just mentioned, Allah takes an oath on the sun. Allah takes an oath on the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath on the time as well. Wal asr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath that, look, I'm taking an oath on the time. Time is an asset. It's a very, very, very valuable asset that Allah has given us. And so we don't want to waste it. We don't want to spend that time in pastimes or something of wasting times or just playing games or whatever it may be. So each and every parent, they're responsible. Normally what happens in this time of year is the parents, well, I'm working, mom's working, you know what, you're at home alone, do whatever you want. Just, social media, play games, go out with your friends, do something. Don't bother me, I'm busy. Right? So this cannot be as parents, cannot be our reaction when it comes to our children. We have to make a plan for them, make a balanced program. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us so many abilities, so many things that we can think of, that we can, we can learn, we can perfect ourselves. So in this time that we have been provided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, remember, all the people will be questioned in regards to the guardianship of who they have authority over. So all the parents will be questioned on the day of judgment by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. كُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. That what did you do for your children during that free time? Did you just let them do whatever they wanted? Are we monitoring their behavior, their friendship? What are they doing during the entire day? Some of the children are so bored. I get children complaining and coming to me and say, we're so bored, we don't know what to do. Like, what should we do? And we know the saying that the idle mind is the workshop of the devil. An idle mind is a workshop of the devil. When you sit there and you have nothing to do and the kids don't know what to do, then shaitan will come up and start putting whispers into the minds. Okay, let's do this, let's do that, let's explore this, experiment this. So we have to make a proper schedule for them. And you know what? When another challenge that the parents normally have, and they come and I get the complaint a lot, is that we keep on constantly shouting at our kids and shouting at our kids. Our kids are not just responding. So that's how to deal with that, how to work with that. We have to have a very serious meeting with our children and sit down with them and say, look, school's over now. Let's make a schedule and let's stick to it. But we can't just make the schedule and say to the children, you do it, and we're not going to enforce it. But this is your schedule, you have to do it. No. The involvement of the parents is extremely just as important. Okay, I'm going to sit down with you for the Quran. I'm going to sit down for you to do this. I'm going to sit down with you so we can go out into the park and make it balanced. Where nobody's saying that sit them down and put them on the Quran the entire day, or tell them to sit down and listen to lectures all day, but make it a balance that they have some leisure, that they go out with friends, they meet with family, the extended family. They have a balanced lifestyle during these 2 months. And that requires effort, thinking, planning. And the question to all of us is that how much planning have we put for these 2 months for our children? What have we thought for them? Is it we just let them go on their own and do whatever they want? So number one is planning for these 2 months with our children. Very, very important. And remember, on the day of judgment, youngsters, youth, it's easy to take care of maybe younger kids. They're younger, maybe 5 to 11, 12 years of age. That's fine. They're going to get up to things too. But you can handle them. It's the ages in the early teens, maybe starting from 11, 12, all the way to like 17, 18. Recently, there was just yesterday or the day before, a 15-year-old got tackled while he was robbing a store, and he had a loaded gun. 15-year-old. Luckily, it didn't discharge and hurt somebody. 15 years of age. So imagine what the kids are going through. Alhamdulillah, I hope it's not happening in our community, hopefully not, but it's happening in the communities in the GTA. So what do we do with that age group? Do we let them go out and from the morning and then wait for them to come back at 12, 1 o'clock, and we have no tabs where they are, what they're doing, who they're with? Have they prayed their salah? That's another thing on its own. So I have so many children who come and say that they're bored because they have nothing to do. So what to do with these 2 months? Planning is required. Planning is a must. To learn a craft, the experts say that if you do 45 minutes a day, and whatever you want to do, maybe it's coding, maybe it's science, something to do with science, something is to do with, social well-being or helping, whatever it may be, Allah knows. Any type of crafts or arts or, to do something which is useful and going to be in your daily lives. If you put 45 minutes a day and you spend approximately 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours, you get the hang of it. For example, a simple example, it could be in anything, but just example, a person wants to learn the art of qira'at, of reciting and improve the qira'at and the recitation of the Quran. 45 minutes a day, for that 20 hours, by the end of that 20, 30 hours, you will get, inshallah, a good hang of the recitation of the Quran. And there's so many online classes for that. I'm just giving you one example. It could be for anything. but something useful either for this dunya or for the akhirah. So number one, in this summer, to make it a productive summer, what do we need to do? Number one is the summer holidays and plan good for it, for our children, for ourselves. That what do we want to do? Mashallah, a lot of families I speak to, they're going to cottages, they're going camping on with tents, out, and where the social media, sometimes they don't even get the Wi-Fi signal. The kids were telling me, which is a good thing. The bonding time with our family, with our children, and put the devices to aside and speak about good things. Sometimes throughout the year we hardly get enough time to communicate with our children, to ask them what they feel, what their problems are, to teach them a little bit about manners, about adab, about how to eat, how to drink, how to sleep according to the sunnah. So this is a very good opportunity, going to cottages and going camping and spending that quality time with your family. Alhamdulillah, it's an amazing idea. So maybe one weekend or 2 weekends we want to do that as well. Planning is extremely important. Number two is, this time of year, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the eyes, which are very, very light, small organ, but it's very complicated and very complex. Thousands of meters are connected to the brain through the veins inside. And 80% of the information that we intake is through the eyes. Now, this information through the gaze, is it productive? Is it useful? Is it something which is going to be beneficial for us in this dunya, in the akhirah? Or is it going to be harmful? And remember, you can wear the most darkest of sunglasses and think that nobody is looking at us, where our gaze is going. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Huwa ya'lamu kha'inat al-a'yun. Allah knows those who do khiyana and who betray the trust of the eyes that Allah has given them. So when right now coming and the heat is out there, there's a summertime, and Allah forbid, people are, the gaze should be down. Allah mentions in the Quran, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses both the mu'min, men, males and females, that lower your gaze. Lower your gaze. The gaze is such a powerful instrument. What do they say? Love at first sight. First sight. A person looks at somebody without even knowing them, and they fall to them in such a way that they're ready to devote their entire lives to them and ready to sacrifice everything and anything and compromise even their deen for them. Love at first sight. As-siham, an-nadru sihamu min sihami iblis. This nadar and this gaze is from the arrows of shaitan. Where is it falling every day? And if we remind ourselves of this to lower our gaze, we are considered backward. What's wrong with you? We're in a progressive community, in a society today. What's wrong with looking at your sister? What is looking at here and looking at that person? Allah is saying, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ. Lower your gaze. So number two is lowering the gaze in this summer. To make it a productive summer, the advice is lower your gaze. Number three, don't expose your aura. MashaAllah, I had a beautiful question from one of the youngsters. He was concerned. He said, Sheikh, is regarding his aura, that if I'm sleeping at a night and I'm covering myself with a blanket and I uncover this part of the body. And I was surprised. I was saying, MashaAllah, a youngster of this community and this age is asking a question in regards to modesty and haya, which is a great, to me, a great habit, a great trait, a great quality that he is possessing in this day and age. So yes, it's going to be hot outside, but how much of your body can you expose when it comes to other people, when it comes to, when it comes to the males, your navels to below your knees has to be covered. This is your aura. This is a must. This is the bare minimum. And when you come to the masjid, I'm telling you, I've mentioned this many times before, dress in your best type of clothing and don't expose your aura. So when it comes to, the summertime, when it comes to the heat, because we're sweating, we feel like, we want to loosen up a little bit. We want to wear, less amount of clothing. That's fine. You want to wear your t-shirts. But how about from your belly button, or do you want to uncover your whole top and uncover that part between the belly button and the navel? How about for the women folk and for our sisters? How much do we uncover? Do we take off the hijab? Do we start wearing very tight-fitting clothes, or clothes that are exposing the body, which we're not supposed to expose in front of other people? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes mention of this and takes look at the importance of it. Allah mentions in the Quran al-Kareem in Surah An-Nur, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu liyasta'dhinkum alladhina malakat aymanukum walladhina lam yablughu al-hulama minkum thalatha marrat. When it comes to inside the privacy of your own home, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that those who are under your authority, your maids or your concubines or whoever they are, or your servants, or even your children who have not reached the age of maturity, 3 times in a day they should knock before entering into your quarters, into your homes, into your rooms. ثلاث عورات لكم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لم يبلغ الحلم منكم ثلاث عورات. What times are those? من قبل صلاة الفجر, before the time of Salatul Fajr. وَحِينَ تَدَعُونَ ثِيَابَكُمْ مِنَ الظَّهِيرَةِ. In the afternoon, when people normally go for siesta and it's extremely hot, and they take off their clothing and loosen up a little bit. وَمِن بَعْدِ صَلَاةِ الْعِشَاءِ. And after Salatul Isha. Look what Allah is saying. That these 3 times, even in your own homes, you don't say, well, this is the privacy of my own home. I can do whatever I feel like doing. Let me feel comfortable in my own skin, in my own body. No, why would you like to expose yourself if in front of your own children? Allah is saying, don't do that. Teach them the adab of knocking before they enter into the homes, into your rooms, into your bedrooms, or into your bathrooms. Subhanallah. So when it comes to number 3, your aura, your body should not be exposed, especially that part of the body, where it's not permissible. Allah forbid, you go outside and, you lower your gaze as much as you can. But because when your gaze goes, and especially people who are not decently dressed, subhanallah, at least for mu'mineen, for believers. And one thing to note is this is the month, as I mentioned, that there is openness, shamelessness. Last week I spoke about it. Shameless acts that are occurring. There's going to be a parade, a pride parade this weekend. And the exposure of the bodies and the body parts and their orientation and their thinking and how could mu'mineen even go there? There's even on the mainstream newspapers, they say for this weekend, if you want to go, these are the clubs, these are the restaurants, these are the places if you want to visit and you want to take part in this kind of activity. And make sure our children don't go there. Because there's parents who come to me and say that, we didn't know. And before you know it, our daughters and our sons ended up in that parade. They went there. And we didn't even know about it. So this, Allah, whatever He decides for us, the Quran is our guide. Allah tells us, the Prophet ﷺ tells us, that don't uncover yourselves unnecessarily. Don't expose your aura. Except in the presence of your mahram. It expects those who are your close family members, who is forbidden to marry with. So, you know what? That's number 3. Number 4, in this time of year, the days are long. The days are long, and the nights are short. And we go to sleep bed really, really late, especially the kids. They're playing games, and they're on TikTok, and they're on social media, and they're talking to this person and that person, and whatever it may be. and they go to sleep at 2 o'clock. And when the time of Salatul Fajr comes in, you can shout at them, you can yell at them, you can get an alarm clock and put it right on their ear, and they're not going to wake up. They're not going to wake up. There are people, when they speak, they say, well, in the entire year, maybe 1 or 2 days, we actually pray Salatul Fajr. And there are people who say we come for Salatul Fajr to the masjid, maybe just in Ramadan. Maybe just in Ramadan, because it doesn't get full as much as it gets in Salatul Jummah. So, alhamdulillah, at least 50% or 25 or 35% of the community come. But how about the rest? So this is a good opportunity. You go to sleep early and you wake up early and pray Salatul Fajr. And you know what? We can practice on these things with our children, that what we hear about all the time in the hadith, that a person who comes for Salatul Fajr and prays Salatul Fajr with Jama'ah and then sits in the same place until the sun rises and prays 2 rakahs, he will get the reward of an accepted Hajj and Umrah. How many times have we acted upon this hadith? In the entire year, in the entire lifetime. Maybe once a week on a Sunday or a Saturday, we can say to our children, let's do this, come on. If not in our masjid, let's at least do this in our home. The Prophet ﷺ says, the 2 rak'ahs of Fajr, Salatul Fajr, khayrun min ad-dunya wa ma fiha, is better than the dunya and whatever it contains. Very quickly. So this is number 4. And when you pray Salatul Fajr, you're in the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَهُوَ فِي ذِمَّةِ اللَّهِ. You are under the responsibility of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah protects you. Allah looks after you. Number 5 is reflect and ponder over the heat that we get right now, the summer. Hassan al-Basri rahimahullah, somebody brought him a glass of water and he wanted it. He took the glass of water, the cold water, and he fainted. And he got up again. And somebody asked, what happened? A whole group of people had gathered. Are you allergic to something? Why did you faint? What actually? He goes, no, this heat, it reminds me of the hellfire. And how the people in the hellfire will call out to the people of Jannah and say, Afidu alayna min al-ma'i aw mimma razaqakumullah. Throw us and give us some cold water and whatever you have as provision, because we are hungry, we need some food and we need some cold water. When this extreme heat is there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that don't you look, an-nar allati turun, that this at this fire that you're kindling, is it you who are doing it, or is it us who have created these trees so that you can use it to kindle this fire? And this nar tadhkira is a reminder for the mu'mineen, wa mata'an lil muqwin, and those who are traveling, they can take it with them and it's going to be a provision for them as well. So this, this heat should remind us that if we can't tolerate this heat without the AC, right now for those who went for Hajj and they were in the 50 degrees, we've seen those who were undocumented, those who went there for Hajj, many of them, hundreds, some say up to 1,000 or so, if not a little bit more, passed away because of that heat. If we cannot tolerate the heat of this world, how can we tolerate the heat of the hereafter, which is in the hellfire? That is why we constantly ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save us from the hellfire. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. And finally, my dear respected brothers and elders, is if we can, Mondays and Thursdays or 3 days of the month, or whenever the Ayyam al-Bid, let's fast. We can fast in the wintertime because the days are short. One very pious lady of the past, she was asked that, why is it that you make a particular habit of fasting in the heat when in the summertime? He said, because anybody can buy something when it's cheap, but to buy something when it's expensive is very difficult. The winter time is cheap, is short. It's just like you're missing out one meal of the day. That's it, or not even that much. But when it's expensive in this heat in the summertime, then this is a time that I would love to fast. Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu anhu, on his deathbed, he cried and he made a couplet and he said a few words. He said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Ya Allah, I fear you, but at the same time, Ya Allah, I have hope in you. And Ya Allah, when I go from this world, the thing that I will miss most is the fast that I used to keep for you, Ya Allah, in the extreme heats that I experienced in the time of the summer. So this summer that we have, to make it a productive summer, the 6 points that I mentioned, and many more. Think of a plan for this summer program, for the summer 2 months. What is it? What are the kids going to do? Sometimes they go to Wonderland every single day. They get the pass and they're going every single day. They want to make use of that, make most of the money that they paid for that pass. Okay, what are they doing? Where their salah? What are they eating? Who are they associating with? Who is their friendship in line? Where are they looking? Who are they looking at? When they go to the water park, what are they doing there? Every single day. Plan something more productive for them, for our families. And as I mentioned, all the other things, the gaze, the awrah, the salatul fajr, taking heed and contemplating about the heat and about the akhirah, and also about trying to fast in these days if we can as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the understanding and tawfiq. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Subhanakallah.